Okay, welcome. Hi, everybody. This is what we've got going on today. So we are still on week 1 of the Unit 8 document, so we'll be doing a couple different activities from that today. We'll start out with a little bit of Quizlet Live, and then we're going to get right to a Brain Pop video that has a lot to do with what we're talking about. The birth of these political parties should really give you a lot of context about where these ideas come from, where they're placed in the political spectrum, et cetera, et cetera. Like I said, we will be doing a good number of things out of the document. And one of those actually includes reading an upfront article that has a lot to do with what we are learning about today. So we'll get right to that here in a moment, but not yet. Would everybody for me right now go to Quizlet.live and let's get going on this thing so we can review some of the terms that we're going to need this time around. Ooh, do you guys want to keep the music on? Yeah? Yeah? Folks, right up top there, 769-861. All right, missing just a couple of you. Give about 30 seconds to get in there, and then we'll do this thing, folks. All right, here we go. Round 1. Here's your spirit animals, and they're racing. Round 2, and they're racing. Oh, jeez. This is it, folks. This one's for all the Tostitos. And they're racing. Next thing that we have is a short video just on the history of these political parties. It's not going to go very long here, folks. It looks like it is 4 minutes in length. Wowee. I'll be sneaking around taking attendance here, and then we will get onto the Unit 8 document stuff. Here we go.
And in closing, I'd like to thank the people of Toledo for all their support. You can bet that when I'm elected president, I'll be back here to catch a Mud Hens game, visit the Hippoquarium, and eat a Tony Paco hot dog. Any questions? Dear Tim and Moby, can you tell me how political parties in the U.S. got started? From Jamal. Sure thing, but I'll need my chief political advisor up here to help me out. Thank you. When George Washington was first elected president in 1789, there were no political parties. In fact, nobody even ran against him. Not then and not when he was re-elected in 1792. Both times he won every single vote in the Electoral College, the body of representatives that officially votes for the president. Well, Washington was a unique figure. His military victories during the Revolutionary War had earned him the support of nearly every American. They also made him a respected figure on the international stage. Even the British had to admire his skill and dedication. Washington believed that political parties would weaken the strength and unity of the brand new United States. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. When Washington took office, he and Congress created the Cabinet, a team of 4 presidential advisors. Together, they were supposed to chart a new course for the young country. But they didn't always agree with one another. Take Thomas Jefferson, the Secretary of State. Jefferson owned a plantation in Virginia, and he believed that the country should be led by independent farmers and landowners like himself. He opposed a strong federal government because it would limit these folks' individual rights. To Jefferson, the best government was one that governed least. On the other side of the coin, you had Alexander Hamilton, the Secretary of the Treasury. Hamilton couldn't have been more different from Jefferson. He was from New York City and had worked as a banker and a lawyer. I don't think he looked like that. Anyway, Hamilton believed that the federal government should be strong and financially independent. To achieve this goal, he set up a national bank, the U.S. Mint to physically produce money, and the first federal tax system. His policies favored northern merchants, investors, and manufacturers. To help push his plans through Congress, Hamilton reached out to his friends and also to business leaders from America's largest cities. My advisor informs me that these people formed the Federalist Party, America's first political party. To oppose them, Jefferson and his friend Virginia Congressman James Madison formed the Democratic-Republican Party. Yeah, after that, things started getting nasty. Pretty much every politician in America was forced to choose a side. As you might expect, the Federalist Party was popular in the North, while the Democratic Republicans were strongest in the South. In 1796, candidates from the two parties faced off in the nation's first contested election. Jefferson lost to Federalist John Adams in a close race. In 1800, though, Jefferson became president, and the balance of power tipped toward the Democratic Republicans. After Hamilton died in 1804, the Federalist Party slowly withered away. And with no real opponents, the Democratic-Republican Party broke into rival groups in 1824. Yeah, that eventually set the stage for the formation of the Democratic and Republican parties, which you can learn more about in our Political Parties movie. This is true. Throughout our country's history, lots of different parties have appeared and disappeared, but since the beginning, our government has been based on a two-party system. That means that for most elections, two parties tend to dominate the voting. So, are there any other questions? Oh man, am I really that boring?
All right, very good then, folks. Would everybody open up their Unit 8 document, and I'd just like to kind of see where everybody is for just a moment. I want to do this. Okay, so we already did this first box here, and I'm assuming that everybody was at least able to answer. That's a quick 5 points that you can get right out of the way if you didn't do that already. But right down here, we will actually start this next portion here. Okay, I'm gonna give you the answers to this first one. Okay, but then these you are going to need to find in the reading. Got me? So I'm gonna show you on the excuse me, the Google Slides here in just a little bit, where you can specifically find those answers, okay, right out of the textbook that I kind of already put into Schoology for you there. So we'll get going on that here in just a second. This is all out of another section that I'll show you here in just a moment. But you know what I'd like to do first is I would like you to open up the political party comparison chart right now in Schoology. And this is going to take, I would say, about 4 or 5 minutes, okay? Now, for each one of these, and I'll actually pull it up so you can see it. Here's what I want you to think about, okay? Republican versus Democratic Party comparison chart. Now, here's my big, let me see your eyes for just a second. This is one thing that I want you to take, not just from this course, but like all of social studies, just kind of in general. Actually, I think this is more of a life thing, to be honest with you. I don't want you to ever think in terms of I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican, so this is how I think about it. Does that make sense? I want you to think for yourselves. It's called being a critical thinker. And I want you to be able to feel guys, it's perfectly fine to think completely conservative about most things, but then be liberal about a couple things. Get me? That's called being a critical thinker. Okay? Even the most staunch Republicans or staunch Democrats might have one or two things that they're going to cross over upon. Get me? Okay? So I want you to critically think about all of these things. And guys, it's okay to not know the answer right away. Okay, what I want to do right now is I want to answer whatever questions you might have about some of these policies. Let's just take 5 minutes and see how we do here. Highlight which side you agree with. Now, as you get going, I think that you're going to start to understand which side is the Republican and which side is the Democratic side. But I don't want you to think that way right now. What I want you to think about is each question critically. Which one do you agree with more closely, okay? And let's try this real quick, okay? Let's give it a shot. Highlight which side you agree with more. After that big long spiel, I had to like one of my last classes that didn't really care about what I had to say, just completely highlighted them. I don't even think he read them all. Once he realized which side was which, he just went in guns blazing, and that's the way he was going to believe. So, okay, so be it. I would love to answer any questions that you have about some of these. I know that some of them can be kind of confusing. I know last time around, a lot of the kids are kind of confused as to what, the environmental question, how government controls that, what does that mean? Does anybody in the online world have a question that I can answer? I unplugged you, so you're not going to be broadcast to the entire class. Otherwise, feel free to type any questions that you have into the little chat box there, okay? Give you just one more minute here, and then we'll move on to the next thing. we will do with the people online. We already did this as a class, right? We already answered this week the very first question. We did that one? Very good. Okay. Just double checking here. Here you go. Okay. Your 8.1 notes, the only notes that I am just kind of spoon feeding you here. Okay. We've already talked a little bit about a political party, and you basically have known political parties as just being one, one of two, right? We've had our bipartisan system, the two-party system, for as long as it's kind of flipped back and forth over time in U.S. history, but for the most part, it has been largely a two-party system. Okay. An organization made up of citizens who have similar ideas on public issues. Okay, then it's going to go right into the role of political parties. What is it that they do? Allowing for large numbers of people with similar ideas. Okay. Oops, should probably present this to the people online if I wanted to do that. There we go. Okay. They nominate or select candidates to run for office. So the party has that responsibility. Okay. They take positions on public issues and work to get laws passed. They also point out weaknesses in other parties and their candidates, and they keep members informed and help citizens interested in their government. Lastly, they ensure that public officials do a good job, so voters will reelect them. Okay, so voters will reelect them. I'm going to give you just one more minute to get this stuff written down, and then I'll show you where you can find the next stuff. You're going to need some of the readings out of the book to complete some of this next stuff here, okay? Does anybody need more time with this? That's okay if you do. Okay. All right. You guys all know that you can access this via the try-3 Google presentation if there's ever anything that you need. But here's what we're looking for here, okay? In Chapter 10, Section 1, which I will show you in the book where exactly you can find that, okay? We are going to look for advantages and disadvantages of the two-party system, multi-party system, and the one-party system. Now, we already started talking about this a little bit yesterday, okay? And I think it's important for you to recognize that there are other systems that other countries go with. Get me? Okay? There, a couple that we'll bring up just later. I mean, imagine if we had about 5, 6 different political parties, and each of them were about equal in power, but depending on how that particular election went, it could swing any of those directions. Would that be more or less of a democratic system than what we have now? So we'll be looking at this here in just a little bit. Those of you that are in the online world, we eventually will get to reading this aloud as a class today, but I threw it on the Google try-3 Google presentation here just so you have it available to you. So yeah, that is where we are. Are there any questions, people in the online world, before I cut you loose and you can get to work there? Or it might be a good idea for me to actually show you where those readings are, right? Assuming that some of you already figured this out, but as a teacher, I should probably never assume anything. Okay. So I got to do a better job labeling these, but they're kind of in order here. So your two-party system here should be your 10.1. Okay. This right to vote, this is 10.3, but you're going to need 10.1 and 10.2. Okay. So this is this one right here. Okay. Am I Yep, I'm showing it to them. So here's the one that you'll need for that first one. And that second slide, you'll see right here. Good? Open those up right now. We're going to spend a little bit of time taking stuff from the reading and putting that into the document. Let's go. Let's go. So just checking in with you in the online world. Did anybody have any questions before I cut you loose? All right, if there's nothing else, make it a great day, or don't. The choice is yours. Nobody said goodbye.